Welcome back to Boys and Ghouls Film Review, folks. I'm your host, Sarah Stephenson, and this is my co-host, Mike Stephenson.
Hi, guys.
So tonight we will be reviewing fantasy romance time slip movie, called Splash Splash Love, that was released in 2015.
Now, this is a South Korean production. Now, it was done, I think, as a 10-part YouTube-y, Netflix-y sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then they decided to amalgamate it into a 2-part TV presentation. Mm-hmm. So there you go then.
There's not very much on it, sadly enough.
Not a lot. However, we will do our best. Now I don't normally... what did I say? I'm trying to fix something on the computer. I do not normally talk about availability at the beginning, normally at the end, but this is not available as far as I can see on Amazon or eBay. It may not be available anywhere apart from YouTube.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do is we're going to, when we release this on Sarah's website, through whatever stream she's using, she's going to have some links there to take you to the YouTubes which have the English subtitles. There you go. I think I've covered it well, haven't I?
Yeah.
Okay, right. So,
yeah, as you guys well know, I'm always looking or expanding my watching time by including movies from or TV shows from different cultures.
Well, yeah, we try not. Look, we do a lot of mainstream stuff. Okay, new stuff, old stuff, whatever. But yeah, it's good to bring something in which is under the radar or the average person wouldn't be aware of.
Yeah.
And it obviously it's been known in South Korea, but the rest of the world wouldn't necessarily know about it. But one of the reasons why we're doing it, it actually was put up for some awards. I don't normally mention this sort of thing, but it actually made it to the 44th International Emmy Awards, which is done actually in America, I believe.
That's nice.
As nominated, the category was Best TV Movie Straight Miniseries. It got nominated for that. So it was actually put up for something outside of South Korea.
That is nice.
Yeah. So it does hold its own, if you don't mind subtitled films.
Yeah, and the last other movie that was a South Korean movie was the Sound of Magic that we just reviewed not too long ago.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
Which was not a bad series, and I thought it was wonderful just watching it.
It was lovely.
And it was very
nice.
beautiful, and there was good music. Of course, in this one, there's not so much as music, more of comedy routines in it.
Well, yes, it's light-hearted. There is a little bit of music in it, but it's more background stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly so.
Now, can't tell you too much about budget or anything. When you get the telemovies and stuff and things, you don't get too much on budget.
And there's no box office, whatever.
No box office. However, it was directed by Kim Ji-hyun, and he was also the writer of the screenplay. Mm-hmm. I can't say too much. I believe it was actually based on a novel called Love in the Moonlight.
That's nice.
Or Love in the Moonlight might have come after it. No, wait a minute.
Well, what does it say in your notes, Mike?
Oh, wait a minute. The series aired 2 years after the popular novel. Oh, no, sorry. Moonlight Dawn. Moonlight Drawn by Clouds. That was a novel which was serialised in 2013. Aha, there you go. So there you go. Like Splash Moonlight is about a love story. Blah, 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 blah. Similar theme as this. We won't go into it too much. Moonlight Drawn by Clouds. I believe this was a bit of a stimulus for this production. Mm-hmm. There you go. I can't say. There's nothing more to talk about. You might as well just get into it.
Yeah. What about the stars? We usually talk about the stars
after we discuss the
director.
I can't say all these.
I can't just say call her the girl or the king or the queen.
What we're going to do? I'm just going to do the two main people.
Wrong.
Okay. Kim Seul-gi plays Jang Dan-bi. Okay, she's the lady.
I'll just call her Jang.
We'll call her Jang. And Yoon Doo-joon plays Ji-do, which is the prince love interest guy in the
king
movie.
in this.
Well, he's a prince. He's a king at this point probably because he was a prince. But I don't know what year it is.
Didn't you research into what
I don't know what years he appeared there.
Oh, okay.
He was a crown prince type thing, and then his father passed away. Then he became a king, but somebody else actually in control until he came of whatever age, etc., etc., etc. So let's just call him the king. Yeah.
Well, as we've established, it doesn't matter what age bracket you were back in those days.
Yeah.
You just naturally get pushed into the role of king.
You've got the short straw. You're doing the job.
Yeah. So even if what age you are, that you were forced into being a king.
Now, speaking of age, Sarah's going to tell you a story in a minute, but she probably doesn't know this part. When this girl goes back in time, it's going back to a time in South Korean history about 1430 to 1450 current era. So that's where it's based in. There you go. You wouldn't have known that.
Of course not.
I did some digging.
Okay, so do you want me to start getting into the story?
You might as well. This is going to be funny of all fun.
I'll try not to keep it very long like I usually do, because in this one it has a lot of character development here and there in this sort of thing. Okay,
coming of age
Jang.
stuff. Yeah.
So Jang, the young girl, takes place in the modern time, so I guess 2015 at the time.
Whatever.
And she is setting up for her SATs. Exam.
And she's very nervous because she's not very good at math.
Yeah, see, she's bored at math. She's terrible at math. And her teacher tells her, if you do not pass these SATs, you'll be looking at being a supermarket grocer for the rest of your life.
Nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that.
My mother was a cook cleaner in a club, and she did very well.
Yeah, but her mother disagrees on that score. She wants her to rise above and try to make something of her life. And she doesn't like it that her daughter's lazy and does not do anything except karaoke.
She doesn't like math.
Yeah, and except for karaoke with her best friend and caring about noodles. That's all she cares about. So the next day, she is about to head off to the SATs. It's on the news, yada, 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 which I think is weird.
I think that was a bit over the top.
That's overkill, because even when I was young, when we were doing exams or stuff like that, we never had a news broadcast telling us,
SATs have been done today. If you don't show up, you will not get a job.
Yes.
I don't think that really happens.
No. Yeah, hardly. But anyway, so her mother packs her stuff in a bag, of heavy lunch, which is a lot of stuff.
Dehydrated noodles, yummy, some lollies.
Chockies.
Chockies.
And she tells her to fight, and all that stuff.
Fight the good fight. Whatever.
So she's on the bus. As she's going, she's reading through her notes, her book notes, and she gets to the building where the SAT is taking place, but she walks away runs away because she's scared.
Yeah, she thinks she's going to fail, so if you can't take it, you can't fail. Well, yes,
so,
but it's a failure by default anyway.
She heads to a park, she's sitting on a bench, and then she hears something that's coming from a puddle.
It sounds like a drum beating.
Dum, 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 dum. The old-fashioned drums.
Cosy Powell,
Yeah, so she approaches the puddle, and she sees an image inside it of the old-fashioned drums from that period.
A long time ago.
And as she's looking into the puddle, she starts thinking this is her escape. She talked in the past about escaping from this world in order to escape the SATs and stuff like that. I don't know if I would have done it this way.
I wouldn't. It looked wet. It could have been deep hole.
Yeah, so she dives right into the puddle, and she swims she goes underneath deep water, and then the next minute she descends back to a different period. I don't know.
About the 1430 to 1450 period in South Korea, which I believe was called the Joseon Era.
Yeah, the Joseon Era.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yes, and
see, I did my homework.
She's inside this cauldron type thing, and they're praying for rain.
We had a drought for 3 years, and they're really desperate for water.
And they think that she's probably from heaven trying to help them to possibly get some water. But unfortunately, she's a little shocked, and she says to them, I'm a senior student, and this is different in their language.
And they think that she's trying to say she's a eunuch.
Yeah. A man without balls.
They know what a eunuch is. Don't go down there.
Yeah, of course
right.
using her knowledge of watching so many of these time slip movies.
She's
she
watched a lot of this sort of
pretends
crap,
to be
yeah.
a goddess of rain, and everyone bows, and then she just quickly darts away and finds the disguise, but she doesn't stay hidden for long. One of the guys who's works in the palace, what's his name? A famous.
Hey guy, don't worry about it.
He drags her to the king. They're about to chop her head off, which is what they would do in those days. They chop people's heads off, and he says that he'll let her live if she be able to make it rain. And of course, she cannot make it rain. And the king says he's trying to get away from fantasy, try to not rely on superstitions to rule his kingdom.
He's more of a scientific man. He doesn't believe in mumbo jumbo mythology and that sort of stuff in their past history. He believes science and technology is the way of the future. What a smart man. Yeah.
Of course, his councillor members, one of them in particular, he's married to his daughter.
His councillor's daughter is the current queen.
Yeah, he wants things to remain the way they are, relying on them to, sort things out. Because if they become obsolete, they're out of the job.
Get your bum to the unemployment office.
Yeah. Anyway, the king thinks Jin is the likelier person to help them try to solve this drought problem.
Yeah.
So she ends up getting her pen out, and she was able to cipher one of the math problems, and probably a very basic one. I'm not sure.
Well, it wasn't basic. It was high school math. But the point is, these guys didn't have the mathematical skills that the ancient Greeks had.
He was amazed by this. He says this took them 3 days to solve, and they
still got it wrong.
And
she did in a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
We found a calculator, guys.
Yeah, so he assigns her as one of the eunuchs to help him to learn maths and other stuff.
Technological type things.
Yeah, so she sits down with him and they discuss maths, and she goes through this sort of Western versions of maths, I think. Because
it's not Western version. It's maths, but it also he starts to teach him about science and anatomy and other things.
She explains when he was eating dinner and she gave him some of her noodles. He just suffers from diarrhea, and he first thinks she poisoned him, but she says that you cannot let superstition think that you just all of a sudden got poisoned. Yeah. And she explains that about the nervous system, the immune system, stuff like that, and how it works. And she explains how body parts work.
About biology.
She kind of helped them a lot, like getting away from superstition to start really thinking about actual knowledge, not. And it turns out she's much more smarter than she is when you think about it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Anyway, she then starts getting close to the king, and the king shares knowledge about himself here and there. The queen notices what's been happening, and she gets a little bit jealous.
Well, of the time factor. The queen doesn't know that this little eunuch person is actually a female at this point in time.
Yeah.
But we think the king's starting to suspect. How's that?
Yeah. He notices when he walks her back to the place she's staying at, and one of the little kids calls her. What do they call it?
It's a word, noon or something. We sound like sister.
Yeah, which.
Yeah, something. Yeah.
Yeah, which he kind of worked out in his head. What's that about?
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway,
that's why he's the king. He's
Eventually, the head guys, they notice this and they want to have her executed, meaning they want her drawn, quartered, if that's the word.
They did actually, yeah. Drawn and quartered, yes.
Yeah.
Normally that's behind a horse, then cut it in 4 pieces.
Yeah, where they tie each limb to each bit of a horse, different parts of a horse, and they just tear her
and
into
go
two.
giddy up horsey.
Yeah. Fortunately, the king was able to save her, and they suggest to her, we will offer you clemency if you solve this this drought problem. So she works out on a special water clock. If that's...
I really don't know what the water clock has got to do with making it rain.
I don't know either. Anyway, she starts working on it using pots and stuff, and she eventually comes up with a good plan. And soon enough, as she's sitting outside, working out these solutions, she gets tired. Eventually, the king arrives and puts it and watches her. It's funny in one of the scenes when the queen was about to drug him to make her alluring to him, because this was an aphrodisiac they
put some aphrodisiacs into the king's food because he wasn't being husbandly to the queen.
Yeah.
And actually, our little friend the eunuch ate the king's food.
Yeah, and and she acts all gurgly, and she even cuddles the king and tries to say how much of a pain he is, but at the same time how much she likes him.
Yeah,
and he even places her, next on his lap for a bit, and it was kind of nice. Eventually, she revives and eventually gets her head together. Anyway,
well, that does wear off after a while.
Yeah. Anyway, back to the story. She eventually she solves the thing for a minute, and it starts raining. See, that she often kept saying in this production that when the next rainstorm comes, this is her time to leave.
Yeah.
And she says this several times in this production, and she's about to leave. She's finally completed her task, but then she has second thoughts, and then
she's falling in love with the king, who is also married.
Yeah. Then some assassins try to kill her, and the king gets wind of this, and eventually his good loyal guard was able to send her away to the beach to keep her safe.
Build sandcastles and stuff.
There, the king, arrives, and they kiss for the first time. And there on the beach, they are sitting there, they talking. She even explains that she was from the future.
Try to believe me for once. Yeah.
Yeah, she tries. Anyway, she even shows him on her mobile phone. She has a mobile phone with her, which she shows pictures of the galaxy above.
Yeah, it's in there, and I see the picture of it, and then her battery runs out.
Yeah, zip down, dead. Anyway,
he looks up the sky. Well, it's always there.
Yeah, and they have a good time looking at it, because I imagine there's more stars up there if you don't have any lights around.
Okay, wait a minute.
You can see plenty of stars.
If you are in a city area of all the ambient light hanging around, you don't see as many stars. Now, if you go out country, or not even that far out, away from the city lights a bit, out of suburbs and stuff, where there's less light, you'll see more stars.
I agree.
Yeah, because your eyes get accustomed to allowing more light in, and you'll see the smaller lights in the sky, which are you don't quite see when there's all this ambient light hanging around.
So while they're sitting there, he even asks her the word that was branded on her sweater that says love, the Western version of love.
We're Western letters.
Yeah, and she explains what it means. And he's amazed that there's even other languages in other areas, like outside of Korea, South Korea.
But he also, they didn't have their own alphabet, and he decided he's going to make his own alphabet.
Aside from learning maths, they don't have very much of a characters like letters in there.
They're probably using borrowed ones from old dynasties in other countries, but they don't have their own alphabet.
Yes.
And he's a guy in history who actually made it.
Yeah, and she even takes out $1. I don't know what kind, a money bill of. And this has his face on him, like, say, in his 50s or 60s. I'm not sure what age bracket it is. But she says, this is the king that's on this money, meaning he plays a big part to history.
He may really be on the currency because they're a major historical figure. So,
Yes. Anyway, the next day, they're about to head back to his kingdom, and she figures out another solution to her special water clock. And eventually they head back there, and she was able to solve it by using special... well, I can't really explain it. I'm not a scientist person,
No,
so I can't say.
I wasn't paying much attention to what she did either. It had something to do with algae and moss and stuff.
Yeah, and she worked at that, and she's finally offered clemency by the king because she completed her task, and the queen then befriends her, and she offers to make her a concubine for the king, and so she's offered for the chance of being a concubine, and offered to have a flower sleep on her, and even though she doesn't work out what it means, but then she finds out,
it ain't got nothing to do with flower, it's more about deflowering.
She runs, and I mean runs and hides from the possibility of getting deflowered, the worst kind of sex paid I ever thought.
Not the worst. Deflower just means breaking your virginity.
I know. Ugh. Anyway, she tries to hide, but eventually the king finds her, and he gets her to his room, and she says, "I'm only 19," and he says, "You're 19?
And haven't got children yet?"
See, back then, I imagine...
They did it earlier.
Before, say 14, 15 maybe, or even younger.
Old married woman by then.
Younger than that.
Well, no, I don't know how young. Maybe 14, maybe 13 tops, but it wouldn't get younger because that wouldn't be childbearing.
Even Western cultures, they would often take child brides in Western cultures and other communities.
They wouldn't necessarily be sexually active when they're young.
No, that's true.
It's more like a bit more like a betrothal. Yeah.
Anyway,
carry on.
So she says, "I'm not ready because I'm still young. I don't want to have children yet." Anyway,
don't knock if you haven't tried it. Hey.
He then says he understands, and he's not going to... This is where he reveals that he knew for a long time that she was female.
Yeah, she wasn't
eunuch. Hiding the fact. She wasn't playing, acting like the 12th night in that type of way. Lord. She was actually trying to convey the fact that she was not a male.
She thought it was protecting herself. Mm-hmm. Aha. Carry on.
Anyway, they eventually slept. They slept.
They actually slept together, sleeping. Yeah. Not the othering.
But eventually, they talked to each other during the night, and eventually they just cuddled each other.
Yeah, that's nice.
Anyway,
a good snuggly cuddle, hey guys.
Yeah.
You want the other dude?
Yeah, and that later on she does meet the king's mum for the first time.
Looks a dead ringer for her own mother.
Yeah, and when she sees her, she starts crying really hard because she misses her mum. She's thinking about, I guess she's regretting all the times she was nasty to her, and the day of the SATs, she was disrespectful and didn't appreciate the fact she was being a nice mum, and she wishes to go back to her and say sorry.
Sorry, mother dearest.
Anyway, she conveys this fact to the king when he offers her a present, a pin or a hair pin, I think it is.
It's a long skinny, little long hair pin with a little figurine top.
He also shows her that he just completed their Chinese character. Well, the characters.
Yeah, he made his alphabet up, and he had things up all over the walls and stuff. It could have been some words and sentences, and I don't know.
Yeah, and he even gives her his own that very few words in a parchment for her to give to her, and he also gives her the pin. Tells her not to go back to her time, but be with him forever. But she says that she wants to go home. She doesn't belong in this period. And I kind of agree with her because she's in danger of being there. Without even the king was aware of it when he walked out of the room to think about what he thought about her leaving, and the next minute a group of assassins knock her down and stab her through her backpack.
And lucky the book saved her.
Oh, yes.
And then they set fire to this building that
where all the characters and the alphabet was there.
The king had been putting all his alphabet together and stuff and had it all draped around the place.
Yeah, I think it was more the alphabet and the knowledge there that was going to get burnt, pretty much. Yeah. They just saw it as a big threat to the kingdom. Anyway,
those who live in ignorance.
The king quickly darts inside there. They're trying to put the fire out, but he eventually gets in there, gets her out, and he next morning confronts the person who's responsible. And just so you know, even though Jane admits that she's not good at math, but she's good at recognizing voices.
And she recognised this guy, which is his chief advisor, who happened to be the father of the Queen.
Yeah, and he gives him a very thumb twitching, saying, "You should have not done this. How dare you?" And he said he was doing this for the country, when actually he was
doing it for power.
Yeah. See, he was more concerned about his position and how that once this stuff gets out, more people would be turning towards this knowledge and not to them.
Exactly, to tell them what to do and stuff. Exactly right.
And the king says, "I'm going to take this language to the people so they can make their own decision of what they ought to do in their lives." Yeah.
Well, there you go then.
Of course, the things have been burnt down, but eventually, Jin was able to cipher some of the characters, because she has a copy of it, in a bag, and she was able to give it to him. So it's saved for future generations.
Yeah, she had a copy of it, so she wrote that for him, and with her pen, not a quill, a ballpoint pen, which he was fascinated with.
Yeah. Anyway, she makes plans. She knows now when it's going to rain, and you can hear the rumbling in the distance, and she then says her goodbyes to the guy whom she boarded with for a bit. And
he was a good-looking guy, and he's very smart and inventive. He's an inventive type guy.
Yeah, his role in history is that he's actually a musician
but also
prodigy.
An inventor and a very smart man.
Yeah, he's also an astronomer, whatever. Yeah. And she tells him to continue his pursuit of music and stuff like that.
Of course, she knew from history he was going to be a great man.
Yeah. Anyway, she gets on the horse with the king, and they head to the beach again. And as the rain falls, they have a bit of splash.
One last cuddle and stuff. Then she jumps into the sea and disappears. Yeah,
into the puddle, and she soon arrives back to the present, where when she jumped into the puddle, and she was able to run really fast to the SAT exams, and arrived there, and she was able to go through the exam.
And we believe she passed them.
Yeah.
It doesn't come out, but we believe she passed them.
Meanwhile, while this is happening, the king remarks that he hopes he'll find her someday.
Yeah.
Anyway,
someday my prince will come.
Yeah, Jen eventually heads back to her mum's place, and she embraces her, feeling quite happy to be home again. Probably been gone for a month, I think.
No, she was gone for probably a month or more in the puddle, but it was the same day in our time. Yeah.
She is working in the
grocery store,
I guess, as a part-time job.
Yeah.
And her friend is eyeing a comic book that's online called Splash Splash Love, which is very similar to her dream.
Start wondering.
And then they see on the television screen in front of them upcoming singer named, I don't know his name is, but he looks king.
No, he looks like the singer. No, it wasn't the king.
Yeah, it was the king.
No, it wasn't.
Yes, it was.
I read up on it.
Anyway, both girls were eyeing him, and she...
I'm wrong again.
Yes, and...
No, I'm not.
Well, it says anyway. And and Jane is just watching him, and she starts thinking about what she did, and she wants to return to that kingdom. But as she's approaching another puddle, she tries to put her foot in, but does not do anything.
Nah.
And eventually, the rain is pouring. A man approaches with a yellow umbrella.
Her old umbrella.
Yeah, she left it on the bus and forgot about it, and as she turns, she sees it's the man. The man who looks like the king. And
who was on the bus.
Yeah.
You saw earlier.
He was eyeing her, and he told her, have we met before? We have met before,
He said a long time ago.
Yeah, and and we then flash back to the bus, and this is where she gets off the bus, and she gets her umbrella, and he picks it up, and he found her again.
Yeah.
And
it was totally implied at this point that he is the reincarnated version of the king, travelling through time, but by being reborn, and trying to find his lost love. Isn't that sweet?
yeah, and the story concludes and ends.
Yay.
The end.
Yeah, nice. Now, can't talk too much about production or anything else. However, I don't normally do this, but this is, I wouldn't say it's like a biodrama, but this guy is really taken out of history. Mm-hmm. This guy, who she fell in love with, was Sejong, I think it's the right pronunciation, of Joseon. He was born in 1397, possibly died in 1450, I don't know. His personal name was Ji-hyun, blah, 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 blah. And he was actually, he introduced the alphabet, known as the Hangul alphabet. He encouraged advancements in science and technology and introduced measures to stimulate economic growth. He did everything that was implied in this movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Was taken out of history based on this guy from the Fourth Dynasty.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's taken a lot of work for the guy who actually put the script together.
True. It's amazing. If I ever made a movie of that type of period, I don't know. I like to make it if I can make it a mixture of using some Western actors going back in time, and I guess I'll probably have a language barrier if I included a bit of Korean history here and there.
Look, Ninja Turtles went back in time.
That's true.
And Japanese guys actually speak English.
I know, but it would make a little sense if you were going back in time. You would have a language barrier problem. You know, you would not be able to.
Well, if you went back to ancient Rome, what would they be speaking?
Well, I don't know. That's a big.
A
very ancient Italy.
This is not a rhetorical question. They would be speaking Latin, probably.
True.
Latin's a dead language. No one speaks Latin.
No.
Unless you're a skilled child or some college professor or university professor.
Exactly.
Nobody else speaks Latin. That's it. And ancient Greek isn't what your grandparents speak. Ancient Greek is like Latin. It's just an old language from a long time ago. So yeah.
Anyway, I do think the movie's pretty interesting. I like the fact that it takes place in such an interesting era, and the fact that they included real interesting historic figures in this.
Well, yeah, and it's a touch of reality, which to me, I like reality in fiction. How's that? I know it sounds a bit of a contradiction, but if you do, okay, let's say you do a Jack the Ripper story, okay, you make it up and whatever, but you're still going to base it on a time. What monarchy was in place in England at the time, the social structure in England at the time, the police structure, so everything, a lot of history is in there, but you're doing a fictional story winding in and out of real stuff. When you got something solid to build on, instead of fiction, and it's a load of crap just made up, it can be very boring in the end because you're going to lose people. This here makes it more interesting. It's like The Last Samurai of Tom Cruise. A lot of that was I don't know that guy in particular, but a lot of that stuff the samurai was taken, and was taken out of real stuff. You got all this good stuff taken out of history, and it makes a good movie. So there you go. Then.
Anyway, I did think it was pretty cool, especially. I do have seen a lot of other time slip related movies in Korea, South Korea, and some of them are really good stories. There's one called Wonderful Fate, where a girl who's into manga comics, anime, and she ends up getting sucked into one of them through the toilet.
Yeah. That was before after you flushed it. Yeah.
Well, it's a long story, and I don't know the significance of that.
Did you feel flushed for success?
And the people in that inside the manga anime thought that she was a heavenly lady from, just a heavenly lady from the other world.
Well, there you go then.
And they treated her as such, dressing her in nice clothes, making her wear awesome jewelry, everything made for a princess thing.
whatever.
It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And she eventually falls in love with the king in that
How
time
lovely.
too. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't seen the rest of the episodes because it's really difficult to find the episodes. But unlike that one, I can be able to find the episodes for you guys to look at.
She's going to put the links on her site so you can find them easily with the English subtitles. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, you'll be going, huh? Yeah, right. I would be going. No, actually, I don't like subtitles generally. My wife is always watching foreign European shows, and they put too much dialogue on the screen sometimes. You're going, blah, 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 blah. You spend more time reading than watching what's going on, so you miss half the story. This isn't that bad. The dialogue is simple enough to read the dialogue and actually watch the show at the same time, which is quite pleasant for a change.
Yeah, it's not a big problem with... Well, unlike other people who other times would put up dialogue like this, and somehow the dialogue, whoever puts the dialogue on it...
sometimes it's not quite right.
Yeah, like somehow it's misspelt.
Oh, yeah, well, yeah, you see getting a foreign person from that country who's got an understanding of English trying to put the English subtitles on there, and it's just sometimes there's typos.
Yeah, but fortunately this one didn't have any typos.
No, it was pretty good. I could read it, yeah. Not that I'm illiterate or anything, but I could read it quite well. But I got bad eyesight, you see. That's why I don't like reading subtitles. Yeah.
So anyway, this is a very short one. So
well,
I guess
it's not very short. We haven't quite finished yet.
Yeah. Anyway, shall we rate? Rate it?
Yeah, okay. Again, I've said the same time. Well, when I rate something, I do not compare a $300 million American epic movie or something or other and compare it to an indie on the same playing field. The same goes if a movie, say, made in Europe or Asia or whatever. So, in its own element, I think this movie has got a good storyline, good acting, good photography, cinematography. I think it holds its own quite nicely. I don't necessarily like Asian movies that much because some of them it's a little bit too what's we looking for? Stagey to me sometimes. Yeah, but this one doesn't come over that way.
Yeah,
it is quite nice. It's a very pleasant watch.
Yeah, I sometimes think sometimes.
So I haven't finished. I'm going to give it a 9.
Yeah,
yeah.
I do think that I do like the approach in some of these South Korean. It makes me think of the anime type, comics that often say what type of behavior.
They overdo it sometimes. That's why I don't like some of them. But this one, there doesn't appear to be. There's no overacting in it. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah, stage acting is not the same as television screen acting.
Yeah, in reality, I never said things like that unless I want to make someone laugh my head off.
Actually, you made a comment there about anime and manga. Oh, do your rating first. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to rate this 9 out of 10.
Yeah, same to me.
Okay, go
on. Getting back to anime and manga and stuff, there was an old TV series I used to watch a lot when I was I was still in school. I was in high school, I think. It was called The Samurai. It had Shintaro. He was a master swordsman, samurai guy. And anyway, that guy who played Shintaro, I can't remember his name at the moment, was not chosen because of his acting ability. Do you know what they based the selection criteria on?
What?
His face. It could be easily transferred to manga or anime when they do the cartoons.
Yeah.
He had very nice very nice features, very simple, but very symmetrical. They can transfer it to a drawing quite easily. So, he got the job.
Yeah, I think the
Interesting,
other movies I have watched, not movie, actually, I think I remember this TV series that I really was attracted to, which is called Monkey Magic, and it was
funny.
One of my favorites on ABC. I mean, when it's translated, obviously, because for a kid audience, you cannot really, be able to
Yeah,
check.
but the acting was over the top.
But I thought it was clever and funny, and I liked Monkey. He was hilarious.
Yeah, but the acting was over the top. It was almost like stage acting. That's what I don't like about that. Some of the Asian stuff. It's almost like a stage production done in front of a camera. It's different sort of acting.
And I like the message each episode has at each end of their episode. Sometimes
it had a moral.
It had a moral, like
Monkey was naughty all the time, but his mate.
He likes to fight, type thing with his staff and his.
It was pretty good actually. Yeah.
And his abilities. It was very cool.
Yeah, he had Piggy and he had the other guy and the priest guy, wasn't it?
The little boy priest. Although they keep making
I think it was a girl actually
female.
dressed up. Yeah.
Well, it's the gender mixing uppy thing that they do in Asia.
They put a female in there that looked like a young guy.
Yeah, in there, sometimes in either stage performers or movies or TV shows, they always sometimes they would often do a role reversal where they change it to a female because it doesn't draw attention too much.
Well, actually, back in the old Shakespearean days, when Billy Shakespeare was the flavour of the month doing his little plays or whatever, back in those days, females didn't work on stage.
I heard that.
They thought it was one step up from being a prostitute or something or other, or on a similar level. So any female roles, young or older, were all done by men.
True.
So the female roles were done by young guys. I hope they had a shave. And
anyway, if you actually watched some of their performers, sometimes in some of their Sailor Moon musicals they do up in Asia, they would often cast sometimes the leading man roles
Tuxedo?
as. No, not him.
Oh, no.
I mean, I remember Prince Diamond's role was actually given to a woman.
Oh, okay.
Kind of was a bit of a surprise for me too, even though I was remotely attached to the bad guy.
Yeah.
Because you love the hot, nice guy. Bad guys.
You can get a very good-looking young man who has feminine features.
That's exactly
what
I mean.
You have a female who's got slightly masculine features. There is a bit of a crossover.
You can. You will notice when you look at some Asian ladies, they do have a masculine look about them.
Well, don't have a masculine look about them. But there's crossover, there's borderline. You can be one. I see some people say, I look at them and I do a double take. Is that a really, really, really good-looking young man, or is that a female who's got many looks about it? And I go do a double take sometimes because it is very borderline sometimes.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Anyway, I do enjoy that type of thing. I've actually been reading Kiss Him Not Me. It's a manga anime type comic. And it's pretty funny. I don't read it because it talks about
waffling.
Talks about BL, most of the stuff.
Not BL.
Boy love.
Oh, I was going to BLT or something.
I mostly enjoy it because it's funny. The antics they get up to. That's all I think about.
Enough.
Anyway, I do enjoy this movie very much, and I have been watching other ones over the time, even though most of the others are more drama based than fantasy based.
Fantasy's good, and it's fun too. This one,
So anyway, I advise definitely check it out. I'll be sure to put a link at the bottom so you can check it out.
For both episodes, it's been broken into two parts. One's about 54 minutes long. One's about an hour and 10 or something. So it's about an hour each. Yeah.
So anyway, check it out and let us know in the comments what you guys think of it.
It's really good. If you like that sort of stuff, you don't mind reading subtitles. It's good fun. It's girls, if you're listening out there, I think you'll like it.
Yeah.
And guys, hey, what's if your girlfriend? Hey, it's a bit of a love story.
Anyway, that's about it for us tonight, guys. So be sure to check it out and let us know in the comments what you guys think. Cool. This is Sarah Stephenson.
And Michael.
Saying see you guys around on Boys and Ghouls. Bye for now.
Bye.